Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
Welcome to my podcast, where we are going to talk about a lifestyle with dogs and throw in a few life lessons along the way. Whether you're a hound hunter, bird dog enthusiast, running setters, pointers, retrievers, or a flat-out running dog junkie, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Heath Hyatt, a certified law enforcement canine trainer with over 3 decades of personal and professional training and handling experience. It's time for me to pay it forward. So grab your leads, lace up those boots, and come and join me on this lifelong process of teaching, training, and learning. Are you looking to unlock your dog's full potential and give them the best nutrition possible for peak performance? Then look no further. Inukshuk has what you're looking for. Inukshuk's nutrient-dense formulas are crafted to keep your dog's energy high and performance top-notch. Packed with premium proteins and essential fats, Inukshuk delivers the balanced nutrition your dog needs to thrive. From hunting dogs to police canines, Inukshuk is trusted by professionals. Give your dog the power of peak performance with Inukshuk professional dog food. We have the man, the myth, the legend, and actually he's a short timer now. Like, he's short timing. But you guys don't know, we've already been on here an hour talking dogs. I mean, hog dogs, bear dogs, lion dogs, fox dogs, bird dogs, cur dogs. We've covered them. So you guys are going to get to hear some of that conversation. But I have none other than the famous Jason Doobie on.
I don't know about famous, man. You sound like Mark Boyer. That's what he always says.
The famous. Well, we can come up with another word, another term.
I think we should. We'll work on that one.
Be?
I don't know.
I have to tell you this, Doobie. Every time I say your name, because I don't call you Jason, I call you Doobie, I think about somebody smoking a Doobie. That's what rolls through my head.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
It's easy for people to remember.
Maybe I should call you JD. Instead of JD. Jason Doobie, we'll call you Joint Doobie.
I'm telling you, I went to school with people like from 4th grade, 5th grade on that did not know my first name. Like
Doobie just has a ring to it. Like, yeah, like, you know, in the field that I'm in, like, we call each other by the last name. Like, we, you know, everybody's, you know, half the people work probably don't even know. Well, how they do. Some of the new guys, I bet you they don't know my first name.
Right.
Because everybody's like, hey, hi, you know. So I get it. I get it. I understand it. But Doobie just works. Like, it works.
Yeah. I'm telling you, people remember it because I tell them it's like the brothers. My brother and I, we both played music when we were kids. So we were the Doobie Brothers. But it's spelled
Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're not out of the park on that. Very few people call me Jason. The most, like, one that is least common is Jace. There's, like, 1 or 2 people. Steve Fielder calls me Jace, and I think it's great. Like,
yeah. Jace. Yeah. You know, I was sitting here, I don't know that I when we were in South Carolina, I don't know that I heard him say that. I don't remember, but he was too busy. You know, this is something we did not talk about on our road trip is, like, you and I were sitting in the back of our booth and we're just watching people come by, and Fielder had went out to the whatever stud dog barn, went out there to see Fever, and him and
like
Mark
100 feet away.
And like, there was like 10 people come by. Hey, you know where Steve's at? Have you seen Steve? Where's Steve at? And I'm like, I don't know. He went out to the stud barn, and then somebody else come by. And we're like, nah, he's outside with that pup. You know, he's around back. I mean, it was like people filtering in nonstop for film.
Oh, I know. It's like I always say, it's like Richard Petty walking through the pits at the Daytona 500. Like everybody wants to talk to Steve.
And Wes and I had this conversation, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I don't remember, but it's not been long ago. Like his memory and how he remembered, like it's phenomenal.
Unreal.
In 1973, it was February the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. This dog won the AKC World, and Junebug was its mom, and Bad Boy was its dad. And like, Fielder, like, how do you remember that? Like, I can tell you my lineage of my dogs, but to remember everybody else's, like he can tell you the Walker dogs and the English dogs and the Black and Tans. And I know during our conversation at dinner one night, he was bringing. I was like,
that's what I was thinking. He was describing hunts you went on and the dogs that you were hunting with, and I'm like, does he remember all this? Because I know Steve remembers everything.
Yeah, like his memory. I mean, you say he got a memory like an elephant. Now he does.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a steel trap in there, and I don't know how he does it. Like I hope, when I get up in the years, that my mind is that good.
Mine's not that good at 39, man.
No, like mine's already slipping.
Right?
Like it's already slipping.
Well, that to me, like I really enjoy so I went to Oaks with Steve and with Ben Sheets and his dad, and I took that guy out with me from here. He works for my uncle, but we went to school with some of his family, and he does videography work. So we got to go out there, and it's always cool to do the shows, but the dinner after is what I look forward to, because he actually gets to sit down with everybody from the weekend and just kind of decompress a little bit. It's always fun. And Steve's got 1,000 stories, so that's always more than enough to fill the time. And we've rented those Airbnbs. Well, we did that one with you for Grand American. Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it, man. Don't let that word get out, I guess, man, or we're not going to be able to find an Airbnb.
That won't be available next year.
I'm telling you, that was the way to go. Hands down, way better than the
makes
hotel.
It nice. It does. You're not crammed in a confined space. You got a living room. We hung out and lived Friday night, or Thursday night, we were up way past my bedtime, way past Fielder's bed. I don't know. Fielder's up half a night sometimes. I don't know how he does it.
You would be amazed at how many messages I get from people at 11 midnight my time, and I'm thinking it's 3 a.m. where you're at. You must be out hunting or something.
If I message you at 12 your time, it's an emergency, dude. Like something's going on. Listen, I'm old school. I'm like I used to laugh at my dad. I'd say, when the chickens go to roost, he's in bed. I'm almost there. Like I'm, 9:30. If I see 10 o'clock, if I see 1000, like it's a late night for me.
Really?
I don't know how my body. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm a morning person. I like to get up. Like even on my days off, I'm not like I'm up. 6 o'clock is kind of like my time. Like I can get up without an alarm, and I come in and I make my coffee. I go sit on the couch. It's so peaceful. Everybody's in bed. The dogs aren't barking.
Right?
It's like
calm before the storm.
It's like woosah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But anyway, we could ramble on all day about that. So, Jason and I took a road trip. I picked him up in Charlotte. I know y'all heard about it, and we went down to Grand American. We hung out for a couple of days, and then the 2-hour trip back to the Roach Motel that he stayed in.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot of dogs, and this is kind of going to be a roll-off of, the price of dogs. And he and I just had a really quick conversation before we started recording that I kind of want to go back over is, and I've given this a lot of thought because it's come up. I think about it. I have people asking me stuff here. I'm sure you're talking to more hound people than half of us. But I've had several people call me over. I've had several people call me over the years and be like, "Hey, man, this person's got a dog for sale. This is what they want for it. Do you think that's too high, or do you think that's a good price? And I mean, like I don't, I don't know.
How do you
it's
know?
what you're willing. It's what you're willing to pay, right? Like it's what you're willing to pay. And I got to thinking about pups. Like I've bought some very expensive pups over the years, and that's a huge gamble. And I know this may be a repeat of something I said on a prior podcast, but it's risk versus reward. Like how much are you willing to risk, for that reward? And when you buy an 8-week-old puppy or a 10-week, even a 3-month-old pup, like there's so much change that goes on between then and 6 months, 10 months. And then when their maturity hits, like when their maturity, that 1.5 to 2 years old, usually for the male dogs, is when you start seeing some of that actually come out.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm not here to say that you should pay X, Y, or Z. That's not the top. That's not what we're accomplishing. That we're just having a conversation about cost and dogs. And, when you buy a dog from out west and bring it to the East Coast, and East Coast dogs going out west, which you don't see a whole lot of. And if it does, that's why I got Doobie on here, because that's something that I'm not aware of. I'm not seeing in my small world of hounds. So yeah, like I said, let's just throw the pup stuff out. Like pups don't count. You can get them for $5 for free, or $1,500, $2,000.
I paid $1,500 for a pup one time. Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, again, risk versus reward. So we're really not talking about pups. It's pups are a different animal within itself. We're talking about a dog that started, and we'll define started because everybody's definition is different. What your expectations are and mine are different. And a finished dog, and again, expectations. Like, what are your expectations? So, Jason, we just talked about this. So I want to kind of rewind. You were talking about your terrain, steep. You're hunting in a different world, really, because your climate's different, your terrain's different than I am. So let's just dive into it.
I think it's hard, like you talking about bringing dogs out and shipping dogs that way. I mean, it is totally different, because in Oregon, like you've got so many different subclimates that are so close, within 5 hours of driving, heck, less than that, really. I mean, you can be in high desert, you can be in coastal mountains, you can be, snow, bare ground. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could test dogs in a lot of different subclimates, but it's still, I don't know, like shipping dogs in is hard. I've done it, and I had a few. I make dogs or continue on. Like I brought in a bitch from Robbie and Lisa Brooks a while ago, and I bred her to Henry. And, she came here and she ran till her feet couldn't hold up anymore. I mean, she didn't necessarily show me she was the best dog in the pack, but she ran her heart out and didn't have quit in her. And she did okay in the terrain. But some of that, like, it's hard to take a 5-6-year-old dog and throw them in these mountains and ever get them in the kind of shape. Like, I think that's the biggest thing with terrain is sending conditions are big, but if you don't have a dog that can physically handle the terrain and keep progressing and keep its feet under it, I mean, you can't catch anything. And I think that's the hard part is, if you're lucky enough to ever see a dog that's truly in shape, you're a very small minority, I think, in houndsmen. Like hunting a dog 2 days a week is not in shape. If you've ever seen a dog that's really, truly in shape, a machine. Mine are not in shape. I can tell you that. They're a far stretch from it. But when you get those dogs that are coming out here at 5-6 years old, I just don't know if you could really get them in the kind of shape to take the pound in day after day. I'm sure somebody could, but I didn't have a whole lot of luck with that. But what do you guys fight coming out there? Is it nose or is it terrain?
I think it's expectations, honestly. Like,
You want to dive into some deep stuff right now, don't you?
well, no, but like when I, and I'm going to talk about my personal experience. That way I'm not anybody else. Like, this is my personal experience. And I bought dogs out of California. I've bought dogs out of Idaho. I've bought dogs out of Montana. I have bought dogs out of Colorado. And I've bought dogs out of New Mexico and Arizona. Okay. So when I say West, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, Oklahoma, Texas.
Right.
I have had dogs out of, I've had dogs out of Oklahoma, actually. Arkansas. I've had a couple dogs out of Arkansas. And of course, they turned out actually pretty well for what I was using them for. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, and I mean, this all goes back to the trailing. Like, you purchase a dog. Hey, listen, Jason, I want a dog that can get down and trail. Like, you see, I mean, you see it all the time. Like, Mike Leonard has posted a few pictures. I'm trying to think of some of these other guys. When you pull the dog's nose up and it's raw, everybody says, no, that's a trail dog. Okay. I get it. I understand physically what's happening to cause that. I want a dog that'll get down and trail me a track up that most people can't. Okay. Now, we're not going to talk about the age of the track and all the environmental stuff, because that's going to get us off on another tangent that we're not going to get anything accomplished here.
Right.
But all right, Jason, I want to buy a dog. You're going to sell me a dog. I want to buy a dog that can trail a track, can move the track, that don't stand on his head and boohoo all day, jump the game, put enough pressure on the game within a decent amount of time to get him treed or caught. That's what I'm buying from you. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we buy that dog and I get it here, and like I said, I've told you all the states that I've done this from. They never have outperformed the dogs that I've already had. And again, I think that goes back to climate and environment and all the things that you and I had discussed, previously. Like, you take a dog out of your area and bring it to my area, it's a different world. Like, it's a different world. We're 36,000 miles away. Like, what you're hunting is not what I'm hunting. So that's kind of what brought up this whole conversation when me and BB talked about it on the first podcast. We talked about, East Coast versus West Coast. So we see from the East Coast, I'm just giving you guys perspective, okay? I'm not trying to argue or like, I'm just giving you a perspective. Like, we see you guys trailing these cats a couple days old. The dry ground thing, it fascinates me. Like, I've even been to New Mexico and hunted twice on dry ground because I wanted to see dry ground dogs tree a bear or tree a cat. And man, we trail. I mean, we rode on horseback. Like, we went up this one canyon, crossed out of a mountain range. I mean, literally crossed a hard top, went down into another, I guess, canyon ravine up the side of a river. Like, it was miles. Like, it was miles. Yeah. Like, we trailed all the way through that country. And by the end of the day, it started raining. And we ended up having to pack up, and we actually had to call somebody on a satellite phone to go pick up the horse trailer and the truck, because we were so far away, and they brought it around and picked us up. So I have seen, to a certain extent, what you guys talk about. Like, this dry ground hunting, and the dogs move that much territory. I have never seen, well, I'm not going to say never. Very rarely have I ever seen a bear hound trail that distance. Like, it was a long way. Like, it was a long way in the saddle. Really? So, yeah. So I see that. But I've also brought a dog back from that, and I don't get that. Does that make sense? Like, I don't get that.
Right.
Like it's still what I've got. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dude, that's so tough though. Because there's so many factors. I mean, you could spend an hour on each subtopic.
Yeah.
Like if you go in, like Mike Leonard, actually, he's done a lot of writing for Full Cry. Apparently, we found some articles, and he just wrote one, or he didn't just write it. I'm sorry, we just found it, and it was about backtracking and like scent conditions and things like that. And it's like, you think about how many factors are involved in that scent and how they're taking it in. Like, you got dogs that are coming from country that lick rocks to move a track and putting them in right, like deciduous.
Hold that thought. I want to talk about that real quick. I don't want to interrupt you, but
no,
dude, for licking rocks. Okay, I see this in my canine world. And for people that may not have seen that or may not know, they're trying to put moisture in there so they can get more scent from what they're doing. The same thing like when my detection dogs, they will start licking a seam or something, and they're trying to put moisture in there so they can pick that scent up better to make a final response for that. So licking rocks is moisture to add odor so they can move forward for what they're doing. Go ahead, Jason. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I mean, to me, it's a very different country. I mean, those guys that are running dry ground, I want to see it with my own eyes, because like even here, we start pursuit season and it's still pretty dry in Oregon. It's very, very low humidity, dusty roads, but I don't know if it's the same as like down there. Like, we still have some brush, the underbrush is big for scenting conditions, and just the terrain. I don't know, man. To me, I don't know if there's like a magic factor of what makes it happen, other than a dog that has the drive and wants to perform is going to perform. I mean, even if you take it from out there and bring it here, like I've had dogs that did it. Don't get me wrong, but let's say an hour in, they'd get sidetracked, or they just didn't have the lung capacity to keep going, or the body build to get over the blowdown timber. I mean, there's so many different factors. I don't know if you could put it on one, but I think if you hunt a dog, I mean, here's the other hard part. You're taking that dog, you're throwing it in with your pack. You're a new owner. It's new coworkers. And is it really going to have, let's say maybe it has the ability, but for some reason it doesn't want to step out of line and take full advantage of his potential. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of like when you got that young dog that's really coming on and doing good. When it starts outrunning your old dog, like, we all have our heart skip a beat, right? Like, because you don't know, like, is it right? Is it really doing this? But that dog has built the confidence. So if you're bringing a dog in and throwing it in, like, I'll use D for an example, that dog I bought from Robbie and Lisa. I know that dog was deer broke. When I got it and they tell me it's deer broke, I know it's deer broke. That sucker ran a blacktail the first night out as hard as it could run it. But I couldn't fault the dog. We corrected it in one time, but it just got shipped across the country. New owner, like, it doesn't know where it falls into line. I think there's a lot of that when it comes to trying to add something to your pack, and just, does it have the potential to be better and it's just holding itself in line? Or is it really just as good as what you're feeding? I mean, how do you ever really know?
Well, I'm glad. I mean, we're going down rabbit holes because we're never going to get
this could get deep, brother.
Yes, but so this is something that I have learned through my 20 years of canine training. Okay, and you just hit on it, and I don't know if people pick up on it. All right, so I buy a dog from a vendor. So I go to Jason and I buy a dog. Well, Jason bought that dog from Holland. He goes and he tests the dog. He brings it in, and then that dog could be anywhere from 8 months to 15, 16 months old. Okay. So Jason buys it. He brings it to his kennel, and I come to Jason looking for a dog. Okay, I decide, okay, I want that dog. That's the one I want. So I take him home with me. That dog has changed environments 3 times in a short period of time. So, and I'm gonna go on with this. So the dog takes time to adjust. What we have found, and I preach this to my new handlers, it takes about 1 year, about 1 year, for that dog to fully understand you. Yes, I can build a bond quicker. I can build a bond quicker by doing some things that we do and we talked about, feeding from your hand, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and spending time with your dog. Absolutely.
But that's making them like you. Like that's superficial to a point until you get deeper, I think.
Yes. No, yeah. Yes. That's what I'm trying to hit on. Like, all those things are just a subset, just what you said, of what we're trying to dive into. So when I buy that dog, and I did, I did this. So when I bought those dogs, I hunted them through 2 seasons. That way I knew, and I didn't even know at the time that it took me a good year. Like, that was something I learned later on. Yeah. But most of those dogs I kept through 2 seasons, and they were good dogs. Like, some of them were good, some of them were not, some of them were. I have to give a shout out to Van Johnson. I bought 2 dogs from him over a period of time, and they were exactly what Van said they were. Nothing more, nothing less. And very pleased with those dogs, but they were never, I wanted more. Again, that goes back to my expectations. But now Van hunted in a lot of different places. Like, he was in Colorado, he was in New Mexico, he was, back here, back there. Like, he hunted in different places. So those dogs got exposed to different environments, which in turn, they were able to adjust to my environment quicker because they had been through this before. So when I buy a dog from, Johnny in Johnny in Idaho, and he raised it. And this is another thing. He raised this dog from a pup. He kept it till it was 2 years old, and decided I kept 3 of them, so I'm going to let this one go. And then Heath buys it. He flies it across the country, picks it up in an airport. So the dog's like, man, I don't know about this. I just took a ride on a plane, right? I go to the airport, comes through the shipping, and I pick it up. I let him out. He's in a strange environment. I throw him up in a truck. All those scents in that truck is different. So he's like a vacuum cleaner, like what in the world? What am I getting into? I take him home. I put him in the kennel. 2 days later, hunting season's in, and I'm out in the woods with him. That dog, unless
he doesn't know what ends up.
Yes, exactly. And some of these dogs' instincts are so strong that they'll fight through a lot of that. Like you said, they'll fight through some of the change and the shakeup and everything. But if I'm gonna do the dog justice, I've got to give him time to settle. I've got to give him time to acclimate. I've got to give him time to learn me and the pack.
Right.
And we're like I said, we've got completely. But sitting here having that conversation, like, I think some of the problems that people see are just because they're not taking some of the stuff into consideration.
Well, I think, okay, I'm trying to think how to word this. It's not like I've been doing this forever, but it's been 13 years. And I remember, I bought my first dog. He was $500, and he was a good dog. We caught some animals with him. It took him a long time to get used to me, and then he was what I needed at the time. He's what really got me started in training dogs. But the days of the $500 pup trainers, they're gone, man. Like, gone. If you're selling a dog for $500, I got a real hard time thinking I need to feed it. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I know this is what we hit on our trip is, what do you have in a dog by the time, if you were to buy a puppy, feed that thing for a year, how many trips to the woods? Like, what do you really have invested in a pup versus just going out and buying a dog? You know, like you said, you've got your factors and you don't know if it's going to make it or not, but at least you got a pretty good chance. If a dog is doing something enough, somebody's, you know, being honest with it, and, you know, they're telling you what the dog really does, and it can show up and do that to some degree, I would consider that a pretty decent dog deal. You know, if the buyer's happy and the seller's happy, my dad told me that was a good deal. But
you don't want to be like Uncle Versey and who was it? Marcel and somebody was selling that mule. Yeah, we were making a good living off of that mule. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I mean, what do you have invested there? I think that's where, like, shipping puppies. So I've heard both schools of thought, right? I talked to a ton of guys. Are you better off to ship it out as a puppy and hunt it there so it doesn't know any better? Or are you better to buy a started dog and try to transport it across the country and see if it adapts? Like, what do you do there?
Ooh.
Right? Well, like, you could argue both ways. I mean, I know I've talked with you enough about dogs. You could argue good points for both. I think really, like you says, it's risk versus reward, though. If you can take a dog that can perform, and nowadays, shoot, dude, you got Instagram and Facebook. You can research half of these dogs without even talking to the guy. And then you figure out what you like and you talk to them.
Yes. But here's one thing I've learned about dog selection. And I'll give my buddy Franco props for this one, because Franco told me this years ago when I was testing a dog. The dog was in Florida, had him sending me some videos, and I sent him to Franco. I said, hey, take a look at this. Tell me what you want. Franco said, Heath, it ain't about what you see. It's about what you don't see.
True.
So I was like, well, okay, what are you saying? He's like, they know what that dog's weaknesses are or holes are or problems are. And they're not going to video that and send it to you. You need to be looking at that dog with your eye. And the reason I say that, because so many people on social media, they want us to see what they want us to see. Right?
In general.
They're not seeing, the hard days. Like, they're not seeing the dogs run and jump. But anyway, you say that, and that immediately come to my mind that, like, yes, videos and everything, but, go back to the pups. I literally had this conversation today, Jason. Like, all right, so one of my buddies had a litter of pups. So he calls me and he's like, okay, what this. He was asking me a bunch. He said, I know you raise pups. I want to pick your brain. All right, so we just literally, if I buy Wormer, now I don't buy the little 2 ounce of Nemex. I buy the liter off Jeffers, and it's $143 for a liter. Okay. I buy my shots from another source. I buy a tray of them. Those shots are $213 for a tray of 25. Okay. So if you have 10 puppies, they get 2 shots and you're buying more. Okay. That's why I'm trying to put this. So you're spent $400 on shots to get them through all 4 of their shots.
Right.
Most people do 3. So $400 and $143. So I'm at $550. I'm at $550 before they ever open their eyes.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, let's just say 8 pups, but I'm raising a litter. Okay. Then the money that I've invested in dog food during the pregnancy for the jip, and then the dog food that I'm going to invest in them, raising them up to their 6-8 weeks old, preferably 8 weeks or older. If you put any kind of supplement, if you do anything with, different with those pups or whatever, like, you have literally got between $750 and $1,000 in a litter of pups before they ever leave your property.
Well, and that's if you have a stud close. You're not shipping semen. You know what I mean? And you got to figure in, I mean, you could go down the rabbit hole. what did it take you to prove that Jip to a point that she was breed worthy? How much have you invested in time? Because now you're not talking, are you looking at acquiring a dog or breeding dogs? You know, like these guys that are wanting to breed and have litters, like I couldn't do it, man. There's no way one guy can hunt them hard enough and test them hard enough. Like you got to have a group of people that work together or at least communicate, because it costs you too much. A working man can't do it in any way.
No. And I mean, like, so there's an additional cost. And, you know, of course, I haven't sold a pup in a while, but when somebody says, "Hey, I need $400 a pup," or I don't even know what the going rate is now. I have no clue. Let's just say $500. I say, all right, you know, I got 4 puppies and I'm gonna sell them for $500 a piece. And people's like, "Well, I don't like, dude, like I just spent a mint really raising them, and then that don't even put into your time. Like, you know, I test mine a little bit. I start doing the drags, you know, the scent association stuff. I scent imprint mine. Like I do some extra things with mine because I enjoy it, not because I have to, not because anybody makes me. I want to. Like I want to do that process. You know, so there's more time, and that time's one thing you can't get back. Like, right? That's the most valuable thing that a person has is time. And you know, BB and I were talking about, you know, a started dog. For me, a started dog is not completely broke. He's making races. He's participating. He's adding value to your pack. And at whatever point, you know, that is, you know, what's that dog worth? Like, what's a dog that's starting to come on and to do these things. You know, you see all kinds of, you know, astronomical prices for me.
Well, what's astronomical to you?
For a started dog?
Yeah. A year and a half under, let's say under 2-year-old dog. Would you consider started in that age bracket, or you're looking for a started dog?
Yeah, like a year and a half, what I had in mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Year and a half old, you know, a good started dog. Like for me, like 1,500 to 2,000 is kind of what I've sold mine for. But you see some that are, you know, $4,000. Like to me, that's getting into that. Like this dog needs to be pretty close. But again, like I'm old school. I'm, you know, I'm not in the updated world. And like you and I talked, like I've got dogs that are not for sale. Like they're not. I don't care what you offered me for them. I can't replace them for that.
Right.
Like I can't. Now, if we win the lottery and $1.5 million, I may sit down and listen to you. But being realistic, like I can't replace them with the amount of time that I've spent with them and the work, and they suit me. That's another thing. Buying dogs from elsewhere, like, are they going to suit you? Like, is their kennel manners okay? You know, what's their behaviors like? Do they have you know, quirks that's not okay with you? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm old school, and I've never tried to make money off dogs. Like that's not my intent. And yes, you've got to recoup your money. Like,
sure,
you know, I can't give a $3,000 dog away. Like I can't do it.
Right.
And I understand that. But I think, you know, you get up into that 6,000, 6,500 for one dog. Like that's the high end for me. Like, and I've never paid that for a dog. That's a lot of money. Yes. And that dog better shine his own shoes and bring his food bowl to the kennel. You know, he better bring it with him at feeding time. Like that's the kind that would be my expectations from that price range.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm too far off from what you think. I mean, I've bought some really nice dogs for $1,500. You know, started. I would say I would describe it the same way you did, instead of saying, you know, maybe adding to the pack, like in a trial period or when we're first starting, just not making problems. Like if you're not doing anything to detract and you're getting with the program and you're there, like I'm pretty happy with that. And you know, I mean, yeah, you get them if you're looking for a bloodline, that's different. I mean, are you talking buying a dog that is going to perform for you and you're going to hunt for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and then it's done? Or are you looking at something to add to a bloodline? Because then, I mean, really, that's when you start looking at those dogs. That's when they're bringing the big money. I mean, 10,000, 20,000 for a dog is insane to me. But at the same time, look at all that's gone into it. You get into some of those lines, you know, think of all the thousands of dollars invested over the last 50 years into them. It's tough. Like, I don't know, man. Somebody told me they had a 1.5-year dog that was making all the races and would trail, handle, load for $1,500, and I wasn't broke as a joke. Like it'd be at my house. I'd
rip his arm out of socket taking the lead from him.
Yeah, right. I mean,
yeah,
to me, that's pretty dang good.
And you know, I've had a couple dogs that at the time I thought that I paid too much for them, and it wasn't much at all. But they're the ones that made my best dogs.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know, I'll just tell you, I bought one dog off a guy that he couldn't keep off junk. But I seen how that dog ran and how hard he drove.
He wanted it.
And I'm like, man, if you can get that dog
fix
broke,
that.
you're going to have something. That's right.
Yeah,
and
right.
I did. And he made one of my better dogs that I've owned. Like I mean, I'd give anything to have 2 or 3 more like him right now. Like, I mean, that dog flat get after it. But he didn't want it because he couldn't handle it.
Right.
You know, he didn't like the junk. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff goes into it. Like I said, my mind works different, like on things like that. And then, you know, let's just take a $1,500 dog. Like, man, I spend days. Again, we're doing 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day here, there, you know, loading and leading. You know, I just did a podcast on, you know, how I'm starting, you know, I do them on a tie out so I can do multiple dogs at one time. And,
right.
You know, I've got them in the truck. I've hauled them up and down the road. They've been on some tracks. Like, they've been exposed to a lot of things. Like, in the real world, that adds value. Like, that value goes up and up and up and up. And I don't think about it that way because that's just what I like to do. And that's kind of my expectations. Like, you know, I sell you a dog, you know, for $1,500, $2,000, whatever, you know, I want it to load and delete and to recall and to do all these. Like, that's part of a started dog for me.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be the source of a bad deal. You know, like, you're over honest about your dogs when you sell them and they won't make you look like a fool. I mean, I haven't sold many dogs. I think I've only sold one. I mean, maybe 2. And it wasn't for anything crazy. You know, it's just like, hey, this dog's decent, but it's not what I'm looking for. Or it walks in its own crap, or it bounces off the kennel, or, you know, just stuff that I don't like. But yeah, man, when it comes to buying dogs, I mean, I think you got to really look at the value. Like, I'm not somebody who's a good trainer by any means. You know, I haven't had to train a dog in years. I've put dogs in, you know, and I'm fortunate enough to have a good hunting partner, and I hunt with some really nice dogs, and I've made some nice dogs out of that. But shoot, man, it's really hard for me to think about having to go back and retrain something different if you don't know the bloodline. And that's why I like those like 10-month-old to 1.5 years. Like, I'll pony up if I can and just start with that, because what are the odds of me picking a winner out of a random litter of dogs that you really don't know? Like, if you're just looking and window shopping for a dog, the odds of you finding a true good one that holds up to a measuring stick of, like, I don't want to say those legendary dogs. But, you know, like true dogs, more than your average, the odds are so slim. Unless you're going to somewhere that you know that they've been bred and you know you're getting them from an established line of dogs, the odds of finding a one-off, I think, are getting slimmer and slimmer, don't you?
Yeah. And you know, and that just throws another thought in my head. Like, who's getting rid of their top dogs? Like,
nobody that wants to.
no. And I mean, I know that if you put enough money on things, things can be, but I get that. Like, I've had a person tell me everything in my yard's for sale.
Right.
Right. You know, I've had people tell me that, but you know, who's getting rid of their top dogs unless they hunt for a living and they've got a young and up and coming dog that they can say, okay, I can replace that. It's not a big deal. Like, but most of us can't do that. Like you said, a working man can't
Right.
really do that. And you know, you go back to the litter stuff. I mean, like I said, we're on our C litter now. So A, B, and C. So that's 3 litters in the last 3 years. And man, the changes that take place and the pups to a grown adult, you know, our 3-year-olds, or they just literally just turned 3. You know, they change so much. And at 3 years old, like, yeah, you can do some tweaking, but at a 3-year-old to a 4-year-old dog, you pretty much got what you got.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, they can get a little better in some things. Yes. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, you know, it is what it is, but like for the most part, that's what you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm telling you, 10 months to a year and a half. It's the greatest. You don't have to go through the puppies. Like we raised a couple litters of blue dogs when we were showing and hunting. But I mean, okay, I'll tie back to puppy prices on that. Explain to me why you can go buy a toy breed of insert whatever you want to put in, like, and then you're going to spend $4,000 on a puppy.
On a lap dog.
Right? That could break its neck falling off the couch.
Yes.
And yet we go out there, and in 2014, we had 3 of the top 10 blue ticks in the confirmation ring for AKC. Like went select at Westminster. Actually, I take that back. I think it was Eukanuba. But, you know, like on the map, all systems, Grand Show champion. And we're hunting the litter mates. Like we're catching bears. You know, it was right at the tail end of California bear season. Had just ended. So we had already proven his siblings on game, and we had switched them over to running fox. But you'd think asking $500 for a puppy was like pulling teeth, you know? And, you know, you think about these guys that have put in years and decades into these dogs. Like, shoot, man, you're lucky to get in on any of that knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had that conversation. Like, some of the brains that I would like to pick.
The guys you just want to sit and listen to.
Yeah.
But those are the guys that have also dropped some big money over the years. I guarantee it. You know, you've invested
at some point in time.
For sure. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I haven't heard of many dogs out here selling for a whole lot more. Like your average dogs, every time I see it, you're probably, let's say 25 to 5 for in its prime. Nice running dog. I mean, do it all. But you'll see them sometimes, guys dump big money on it. It's just, I don't have the money to play that game.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assessment. When you get, you know, 25 to 5 is like, I can go along with that. Like, I can go along with that. I had an opportunity to buy a Jip that was out of my old ring dog, and they wanted $6,500 for it. And at that point in time, I couldn't touch that.
Right.
And I was trying every which way in the world to figure out how I was going to do this. And anyway, she got sold. And the guys that bought her, the first day they took her out, bam, no more dog.
No.
Yes. Yep.
That's the
And
worst.
it made me sick. And it made the guy that had her sick too. Like super nice female. But yeah, I mean, it's things like that like,
That's
oof,
insane.
yeah.
But do
I
the
mean,
math. Like, let's say a dog, you spend $5,000 on it. Okay. I'm going to assume you spending $5,000 on a dog. That's a dog in its prime. That's either like coming into its prime or on the tail end of its prime, right? So you're talking like, I'm going to say 5 to 7 year old, 5 to 6 year old, and like that 3 to 4. Okay. So let's say you're spending $5,000 on that dog and you're getting it from somebody who is hunting, because I think we put too much emphasis on age. Like, maturity level doesn't have to do with real experience, in my opinion. If that dog's seen 100 pieces of game a year, you know what I mean? You do the math on that. It's costing $10 per trainer. Like, you're buying the experience. That dog has seen it and done it, versus you having to take a chance on, like a green chain broke or whatever you want to call it, $1,000 off the chain. And that's kind of a gamble. Like, I've heard that, but if it's from the good bloodline, sure. But I think a lot of guys, when they're buying dogs, you really got to think, am I looking to breed this? Because if that's your motivation, there's a whole lot more you should be asking yourself. Or are you looking to buy a dog that's going to go out and do a job? Like, one dog, in my opinion, is not going to change a pack of dogs. If you are feeding a pack of dogs that is not doing what you want, and you think bringing in one superstar is going to change it, I feel like you're going to be pretty poorly disappointed.
I don't know. And I'll give you an example, and then you can tell me your thoughts. So when Spook and Kate were a year old, like, Spook was running bear by himself at that 10, 12 months old. Okay.
Yeah.
So at a year and a half, somewhere in there. So yeah, a year and a half. Yeah, 16 months old exactly. A year and a half. Him and Kate were running bear consistently. Like, and of course, we had plenty of bear. We don't have to go through all that, but they were running bear consistently, and we were seeing them. They were crossing the roads in front of us. We were finding the tracks. Like, we were walking in on them, but they would not stay treed. They were so track minded that they would be searching around the tree, and the bear would come out of the tree and go on. So I bought a dog purposely that is a decent dog, yeah, to stay treed with them, and that gave them the boost that they needed. When he passed away, I ended up buying another dog to replace him. And even though looking back on it, I didn't need it at all. But it was that safety net, I guess.
Sure.
So I bought another one to replace him. And, like, again, very, very not, I mean, dog catch bear by herself. Like, I didn't need it. But, so in those instances, they took my young dogs. Again, we're looking at a year and a half dogs, and got them where they needed to be.
How many were you hunting? Just those 3?
Yeah.
See, I mean, I guess that's a little different situation. Yeah. When I think of running packs of dogs, I'm thinking more like, because I bought a dog from my hunting partner, and I wish I could have bought the pair, because, one dog sometimes won't hold as much pressure. Like, if a young dog is trying to pull it off, or, because treeing is probably my weak point too. Like, they're really loose on a tree, and they'll check in with me, but a fox usually doesn't jump, so it's not a big deal. But who was catching the bears? Was it the year and a half olds, and he was just coming in and treeing and teaching them to tree?
Yeah, like he wasn't super slow, like, no means. Like, but he was close. He was close enough. Or, I mean, on the shorter races, he was right there. but yeah, he would come in and he would keep them. So he would keep them at the tree because the bear couldn't back down, so they could run it again.
Right.
So, and it literally, I'm telling you, Jason, it didn't take but a few times, and then the light bulb went off. Bing.
Right.
Now Spook was 10 times better. Kate took a little bit longer. Kate didn't really come into her own tree until that fall when the leaves come off. So this is during chaining season, so the leaves are on. If the bear was sitting low, I mean, perfect. And if it was up in the tree, like where she couldn't see it, she would be she'd be kind of loose. And then when the leaves come off that December, like that change, that was it. That was it. Like that fixed it, no problems. And I mean, actually, they're pretty darn nice tree dogs now.
Yeah, right.
And I'll give Mike credit. I mean, these are both my Kemp dogs. Like I text Mike and talk to Mike about it, and he goes, "Heath, just give them time. They'll tree. Just give them time. They'll tree." And like I said, by that second fall, and normally I don't hunt dogs that young. We've talked about that. I don't like to hunt them 6, 7, 8 month old dogs, but that's all I had. Like that's all I had. Like that's all I had. I had kind of revised my pack and got rid of some dogs, and I was concentrating on them. And so I used that as a piece of the puzzle that I needed to complete my pack.
Sure.
Yeah. So
no, that makes more sense. And I've done the same thing because tree and locate is big. That's the worst is when they just keep. I mean, still to this day, some of these dogs they're always looking. Like they'll tree and then they'll look and then they'll tree and then they'll look. They're always checking for an outbound. But yeah, and I guess the same with striking. A lot of guys out here were always looking for rig dogs. You'd hear it all the time, and I was spoiled. I just hunted with a bunch of rig dogs. They all rigged. Everything. Everybody I hunted with would rig. But I don't know. I can see how that could be an added piece too, like getting the track started. But I mean, you were catching bear without that dog. You just weren't holding it, so you were adding a smaller piece. Yep. Yeah.
And I got it. I kept the journals. In fact, the journals that LW's got at Cajun Lights, the stick bow journal we bought from Bart. Yeah, I kept journals. That August, those dogs ran 13 bear that I physically seen. Okay, that I seen with my own eyes. Now there was probably some more. I had to go back, but there was 13 bear that I seen either cross the road or they run them in front of me or something of that sort. And they pull up treed and they'd be treed and you'd start into them and all of a sudden the race would be on again. And it took me till I don't know how many in, like it was up 9, 10, 11 bear. I don't remember that I actually started into the tree and the dogs come out. They left. Well, they made a circle and come right by me and the bear's right in front of them.
Right.
And I'm like, So that's the point in time I was like, all right, I got to have a little bit of help here. Like I got to fix this. So yeah, that was my thought. But again, like you said, Jason, I was only hunting 2 dogs, and that was them 2. That was it.
What'd you pay for that dog? If you don't mind my asking.
Do I have to say that out loud?
No, you don't. That tells me all I need to know. Was it worth it though? Because look what it made out of it. That dog was a tool as well.
37.
That's not bad. I mean, if it turned those 2 pups on though.
Well, more than I would have cared to, honestly. But gosh, he was so nice to be around. Like just a flipping nice dog. Easy going. Like he was a nice dog. But yeah, so that's what I paid. And like I said, I got to spend several years with him, and he literally the dogs had it in them. Like the other dogs had it in them. Mm-hmm. He just kind of flipped that switch and they took it to another level.
Sure.
So, It's kind of like the racehorse. When they practice in the racehorse, they always take a slower horse and they hold the racehorse back and they hold him back and then they let him go.
Right.
That's kind of what happened. That's kind of what happened there. Like,
for sure.
The dogs were running bear and they were catching bear. They weren't staying treed. And again, Mike said, give them time. It'll work. And he was right. And if I hadn't had him, it would have probably December rolled around and they had a bear sitting low in the limb and they could have really seen it. Probably would have fixed the problem.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that I could fix the problem.
Sure. No, yeah. I get that. It's there's always a hole somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have it right now, you're going to have it in a few years. Like my two older girls, they're getting older. It's luckily, like I said, I got a good hunting partner. And usually if I got to look for a dog, because I'm not interested in breeding necessarily. Like mm-hmm. I did that. I don't need to. I just want a dog that I like and I can go out and it can perform and go enjoy it. I don't need to think mm-hmm. 3 generations, 5 generations, 10 down the road. I mean, it's nice. Maybe I don't do it out of necessity. I don't have to. I know enough guys that you're kind of in the loops and you can at least talk and figure these dogs out and do your research before you get a pup. But I'm going to have to do a puppy, man. I hate saying it. I just, one of the 2 I was working with didn't work out. And next year, I think I might have to break down. I'm going to be looking for me a 10-month-old.
Them boys, you put them boys on it, man. They'll have that thing lead broke and hauled around, and they'll have that thing climbing trees and shaking a monkey out before it's all said and done.
That big old Walker dog I got, that's what, when he came home, they drug him around everywhere, man. And he handles really good in the woods. He's just a super cool dog. I like him, and he's doing okay. I mean, I wish he was doing better, but I haven't exactly done my part this winter either. It's been not as much hunting as I'd like. But holy cow, kids and dogs, that is where it's at, man. Yes. They will bring it out of them. We had a fishing pole with the scent drag and everything all set up. They'd go out every morning, and you'd hear them walking through the backyard. And they'd be marching, right, with this dog, little puppy. And they'd be singing West Virginia Mountain Mama, like just
take me home
the backyard, right?
Yeah. Hey, why are y'all singing that out there? We're close
like John Denver, man.
Yeah.
Our kids
I really wish
everything.
I really wished that we could talk to him and find out which state he wrote that song about.
Yeah, right.
Because there is no Shenandoah Valley in West Virginia. Like, there is none. There is no Blue Ridge Mountains in West Virginia. Like, it's Virginia. It's Western Virginia. Anyway, we fight about that all the time. That's right. It's Western Virginia.
No, we're going to have to scope this this new job out. And that's the other thing. I got to be careful when I bring a puppy on, because I can't be, breaking a puppy. When I'm working down at that river lodge. They can't be barking at night. They got to be, luckily I've got a pretty good handle on these dogs, and Garmin makes bark limiters. So that's always a plus, but I figure
we get a limiter deluxe,
get a 10-month-old to a year-old down there and let the boys drag them around the river for a couple days. That's the thing. We can wear them down and then we can work with them, get them tired out first.
Yeah, that's right. What is that? Exercise first, and then you can get them to do whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah. But
hopefully,
man, I want to come out and see some of your dogs. That's what I want to do.
Come on. I'm
playing on it. You're coming fishing.
Yep. The door's open. You just got to let me know when, and we'll make it happen.
Hey, likewise. And I mean it. You can ask, did you ever talk to Cougar? Michael Ewing out there in California?
No,
For some reason, I thought he came up in one of our conversations, but
he did. You and I talked about him.
Yeah, him and a buddy of ours came up, and they came hunting with us, and I told him, the door's always open. And I fell asleep on the couch with the front door wide open. He says, you ain't joking. Him and Eric thought that was pretty funny. But no, likewise, man. Welcome anytime. I think it'd be great.
Oh, we gonna make it happen. Like I'm definitely, whether you come here and trudge around in the Appalachian Mountains, but I'm coming out there fishing. Like I'm coming.
Well, we want to do it because Danny did a whole homeschool course on the Appalachians, however
Oh,
y'all say it.
Appalachian, yeah.
Yeah, we used bear grease as part of the class.
Oh,
Yeah, so we
oh,
used
Newcomb. He don't know. He's not Appalachian American.
right.
He's he's what is that? Arkansas White River,
White
whatever
River.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to go
like,
hunt that too, man. Everybody talks about the White River.
yeah.
I need to go bum rush Steve next time he goes down there and just show up.
Or we hook up with Brent.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what we need to do.
We entered a turkey contest to go hunting with him. We didn't win, but
yeah,
I'm telling you that my middle boy Connor, he is his biggest fan. He thinks it's super cool because Brent is very gracious with his time. Anytime I reach out to him, he'll get back to me, and he sent the kids a little something for Christmas, and just a super nice guy. It would make his lifetime, man, to go hunt with Brent. So he says, you just tell me when you come on, and I hope we get to do it sometime here soon. Hopefully the offer's still there. Maybe that was before he made it big, but
yeah, before he made it in the big time. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, we're gonna make this stuff happen. Like look forward to a lot of stuff getting ready to go down.
Me too, man.
Yeah. Well, I won't hold you up. I know you're busy, and like I said, we could talk about. I mean, literally, we could do an 8-hour podcast with the stuff that we talked about.
We'll have to do it again, man.
Well, yeah. Well, you're going to be gone. You're going to be out of service. You're going to be out of sight and out of mind, incognito.
I'm going to be
fish guts up to your ears.
Yeah, well, I'll be hitting civilization every once in a while. We'll make it a winter project. You hit me up in the wintertime when I'm not hunting. I'll do so.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll make it happen. But I appreciate you coming on. And again, December. Like, come on. Like, just bring yourself and come on, and we'll, like I said, we'll make a run of it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We'll do something, right, wrong, or regardless.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is kind of your farewell tour, actually. Like,
it kind of is. It feels weird.
Yeah. But anyway, well, we'll get you back on when you get through your fishing. Well, I don't even know what to say. Your fishing. It ain't a trip. Your fishing endeavor.
We're moving.
Yeah. All right, Doobie. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, anytime, man.
Are you looking to have your dog transported to be kept safe, clean, comfortable? Then the ultimate hound transportation experience is with Muddy River. At Muddy River Transport, we understand that your dog's comfort and safety come first. That's why we offer premium dog hauling services that go above and beyond. Why choose us? We use ozone sterilization after every run. We use an advanced ozone machine to thoroughly disinfect and sanitize our van after each journey. This ensures that your dog travels in a clean, hygienic, and safe environment. Top-of-the-line comfort. Our spacious, climate-controlled van is equipped with comfortable, secure spaces designed to keep your dog relaxed and safe during transport. Professional and experienced drivers. Our friendly, trained drivers are passionate about dogs and dedicated to ensuring your dog's journey is smooth and stress-free. Communication is key. Count on us for route updates, dog check-ins, and projected times. We respect your time and your dog's needs. For a stress-free, safe, hygienic transport experience, book today and give your dog the best ride of their life. We believe our customers' dogs deserve to be treated like we would treat our own. We aren't just dog haulers. We are active houndsmen. When not on the road, we are hunting our own hounds. Travel safe, travel clean, travel comfortable. Every trip, every time, with Muddy River Transport. Contact us on Facebook at Muddy River Transport Group or call 1-402-274-7558. Do you like to be outdoors like I do? If so, unlock the wilderness with Onyx Maps. It is your ultimate guide to exploring, hunting, and conquering the great outdoors. With detailed maps, real-time tracking, and exclusive access to public and private lands, Onyx Maps is your key to adventure. Discover the possibilities and never get lost again with Onyx. So subscribe today using the promo code K920. Letter K, number 9, 20, and know where you stand.